We're Rachel and Becky Unthank, and we're about to go on a journey through the English winter. It's a journey that will challenge the way we see some of our most well-loved winter festivities. It will take us up and down the country into dark corners, across remote fields and into the underworld of English winter customs. Where monsters, demons and ghosts haunt us still. It's the story of survival against the bitter cold, of death and resurrection, of a battle between good and evil passed down from generation to generation, and a defiance which challenges the very structure of our society. This is the people's account of the traditions that keep us alive through the bitter English winter.
When will we meet again, my faithful Johnny?
It's autumn and it's our favourite time of year in the northeast of England.
My faithful Johnny, when the corn is gathered.
But it's a bittersweet time when the nights are starting to come in and the food is scarce. And this is reflected in some of the songs that we sing as folk singers.
Again, my sweet and bonny.
Song has been part of our whole life, and it's through singing that we think about time and season.
Oh, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer.
We were brought up with singing all around us, and we have fond memories of coming together with our family and neighbours for a sing in the local pub. This is how we mark the passing of the year.
And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ, the man was old and still.
There's been a long tradition of song and dance throughout the winter in the northeast of England. It was a bitter time of year for the coal miners and shipbuilders of the area. This was a way to keep up their spirits and bring a community together when the light was fading.
Then winter winds will blow, my faithful Johnny.
It's at the coldest season of the year that some of England's most interesting customs come out. So we're setting off around the country to find out what people have been getting up to in the harshest months of the year. What dark secrets lie beneath the soil? And what does it say about the kind of people we really are? It's Halloween, otherwise known as All Souls' Eve, the night that people remembered the dead. Many believed that on this night, ghosts and evil spirits mingled with the living. Over in Cheshire, a much older spectacle takes place in a remote farming community, one which evokes a fear that goes back further than a few pumpkins.
Equal 1, 2, 3, jolly good hearty lads, and we're all in one mind.
We've come to the village of Antrobus, where each year on this night, local people reveal a closely guarded tradition that for generations has driven evil from their door.
Well, here we are. First night's of soul shaking.
With a bunch of blue ribbons tied down to his knee.
The Antrobus soul caking play has been continuously performed for centuries.
Silver does shine, and I hope you will remember that it's soul caking time.
The villagers used to perform this ritual after the harvest as a means of ensuring good luck for the following year.
We'll buy them until this time next year. For this night we come a-souling, good natured to find. For this night we come a-souling, as it does.
The first character to come into the play is the letter in, and that's his job, is to let us in and to inform the public in the pub that the soul cakers are here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Raise a fire, strike a light, for in this house tonight there's going to be a dreadful fight between King George and the Black Prince. And if you don't believe these words I say, step in here, King George, and clear the way. In comes King George.
It was I that fought that fiery dragon and brought him to a slaughter.
By these deeds won the King of Egypt start.
What we're watching is a type of mummers play, an English folk play that goes back hundreds of years. And the one at Antrobus is one of the few original traditions left.
Step in here, Black Prince, and clear the way.
It centres on the fortunes of a good character based on St George and an evil opponent.
And if you don't believe these words I say, step in, Black Prince, and clear the way.
Hen comes I, Black Prince of Pastimes. Father, hurry you down. This night I come to bring King George's life and courage down.
What's your character?
My Kelly, I'm the bad one, I am. I'm the evil spirit. They have to drive me away.
Mind what thou sayest.
What I say, I mean.
Get back now.
I'd be about 8 years old. The soul cakers used to come around farms then. And they came into the farmhouse, and when that Black Prince came through the door, I was hiding behind my mum. I was frightened to death.
The villagers in those rural communities would believe that on All Souls' Eve, the spirits of the people who died during the previous 12 months would come back to the village. Hence, in the play, you've got King George, who is the good spirit, who fights the bad one, who's the Black Prince. So we've got the Black Prince who's been killed by King George, and after the old woman has mourned over him, I come in and declare him dead, and then I'll give him various medicines until he comes back to life.
John, take 3 sips of this bottle. Down thy little throat. You rise and fight thy battle. Come on, son.
Lay down your sword and rest. Peace and quietness is the best. He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day.
It's curious that the costumes they still wear today hark back to a particular point in history. And to the people of that era, they would have been very clear images of good and evil.
Oh, in comes I, Beelzebub. Now, with a rinted tin and a bottle of gin. Oh, I'll stuff a pine pot down with any old man. And if you don't believe me, try me. Pass it here. Try
The whole play is about resurrection and securing good luck for the following year, and Beelzebub, he might be an evil spirit, so he has to be appeased, so he steals the beer and nobody objects.
And if you don't believe these words I say, step in, wild horse, and show them the way! Stand still, lad, will you?
Our horse, the Antrobus horse, we feel very special about. It's a real horse's head that's been buried in the ground so that the flesh can be eaten off by the worms, and eventually it will just be the bare skull.
Oh, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes Dick and all his men. Why, we've come to see you once again.
And we've got a horse's head buried in the ground at this moment in time for when we need to have a new horse's head.
Now our play is ended and we can no longer stay. But with your kind permission we will come another day.
But before we go, we'll have it to know
know we'll hate you understand.
There's definitely an anarchic element to the Antrobus Soul Cakers which really fits the mischief of Halloween.
But there's something also a bit unsettling about this play, with its strange set of characters representing the battle between good and evil.
It seems to tap into a kind of primal fear of warding off evil spirits that existed long before the play ever came about, a fear that still resonates. The month of November was sometimes known to rural areas like Antrobus as Blood Month, the time when animals were slaughtered for winter food.
But on November the 5th, we remember another act of violence. Around the country, children and adults gather round bonfires and wave their sparklers to celebrate Guy Fawkes Night.
This November the 5th, we're travelling down to the town of Lewes in the Sussex Downs for the most important date in their calendar.
It may look like a sleepy town by day, but on bonfire night, they don't just set off a few fireworks.
I've been involved in it in various stints throughout my life, which is 47 years, and my father, grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather were involved. You know, bonfire's been part of our lives for always.
There are 7 bonfire societies in Lewes alone, each getting ready in secret locations.
You've got the tension, you've got the excitement, and the adrenaline starts pumping through as you get nearer and nearer. This is bonfire.
It's not what you'd expect. You get 80,000 people descending on the small town. It's nuts, basically.
This is the guide. We've packed it inside. As you can see, there's lots of them, different sets, different sizes, different colours. And then right at the end, we've got the big bomb in the middle, just to make it go bang.
Public outings on November the 5th first began in 1606, a year after the plot to destroy Parliament was foiled. For the government, it was their perfect chance to rally people against what they saw as the threat of Catholicism. In Lewes, it tapped into deep-rooted religious sentiments that were already there long before Guy Fawkes.
Out here in front of the Crown Court is the location where the 17 Protestant martyrs were brought up from the town hall and were executed for their beliefs.
50 years before the Guy Fawkes plot, these 17 local men and women were burned to death as Protestants under Bloody Mary. Their challenge to the Catholic monarch dominates Lewes and is also remembered on the 5th.
You know, there's an old Sussex saying, we won't be druv, which means, you know, we won't be told what to do. We've done this for hundreds of years, and I don't think it should ever stop.
Nothing could prepare us for the sheer spectacle of the procession. The town has been completely taken over by the people. It's obvious from the start that this is their night.
You really feel like you're watching the spirit of the original 5th. This procession has been going on for hundreds of years, ever since the first bonfire boys ran riot through the streets.
There's obviously different societies who have different costumes.
And they look a bit like bumblebees.
There's all manner of costumes going on here, but they seem to be organised according to which bonfire society they belong to.
Lewes has always been very strong with maintaining traditions and fighting for people's rights.
Yeah.
Lewes is one of the few places where the Riot Act was read in the 1850s.
Right.
And that's why societies formed, because it was all kind of a bit underground and a bit illegal.
Yeah.
So Cliff was the first one to form in 1853 alongside Borough, and they've gone marching ever since.
We've managed to cross the line and catch up with Borough, and they let us join their procession.
So how long have you been coming to this event then?
Oh, since I was 5 days old. I was born on the 31st of October.
You seem to not flinch every time there's a big bang like us. You just got used to the noise then?
Yeah.
Oh!
It's one of the most disorientating experiences of my life. Suddenly, we find ourselves walking behind some Zulus.
Tell us about your costumes.
Well, this one's about 25 years old.
Wow.
You start when you were 1?
You start with nothing. You just add on every year.
Chaps are responsible for chucking the barrel in the river, is that right?
Yeah, I've just carried it down, yeah. Just carried it down for my 20th year.
Wow.
My father used to carry it.
Really?
My uncles carried it. My grandfather carried it. My back hurts, so I'm going to stand down now and let my boy take over.
Why are you wearing drapey smuggler outfit?
Right, every society has a smuggler outfit. Obviously, we'll go back to Guy Fawkes, because they were smugglers. They smuggled stuff in, didn't they? Every society has its own colour. We're blue and white. Cliff that are black and white. We've got Waterloo, red and white. Yeah. And it goes on like that. And then we've all got our first and second pioneer costumes.
So that's each society has their own pioneer.
Yeah. Cliff, we've got Vikings, you know, and
Mongolians are Waterloo, etc., etc.
Our first pioneers are Zulus.
Why Zulus?
It's been, I don't know, I can't answer that question really. It started a long time ago, and it's just a very colourful and spectacular costume. So why not have it and put it right at the front?
By now, the societies are starting to process to their individual fire sites on the edge of town. There's so much to see that Becky and I decide to split up.
See fireworks going up all over Lewes because we're right on top of the hill. So, wow, look at those. You can see everybody's fireworks displays. Whoa!
And then something rather unexpected starts happening. I'm sure you're not supposed to do that with fireworks.
What happens is we have the clergy stand. The bishop delivers an address to the general public. Then we all throw rookies and what have you at them to try and burn the Pope.
Ladies and gentlemen, what shall we do with it?
There's no way in the world I would ever do that job.
Elsewhere, I'm still wandering the streets, as around me each bonfire society parades huge tableaus through the town on their way to their fire sites.
The idea for the tableau is a big secret in society. It's normally something quite topical.
And at the Cliff fire site, it's Gaddafi who gets the Lewes treatment. Such a powerful image. It's quite a strange thing. It's something I'll remember forever, definitely. Well, I think they just blew up the Pope. But it is quite a strange sight. Not all the societies do it now, but Cliff still do it.
There's not really any anti-Catholicism. I know there's a lot of no popery, but that's a particular pope, not just the pope in general.
So what is that all about? Is that's not about the Pope now?
No, I mean, it was about a particular pope who was a raping, murdering, nasty man.
Right.
That's why we burn a particular pope. It's still to maintain the freedom of speech and those kind of rights, and that's what we do it for. It's not that we can be controlled by the government. It's, you know, we are in control of our destiny.
At the end of the evening, we all head back to town, and Lewes Borough end the night at the site of the burning of the martyrs for their bonfire prayers. It's the loudest, most anarchic evening I've ever encountered. I've never seen such a mix of costumes and characters take part in one event and together hold some kind of unified meaning for a town. It's like they took the Guy Fawkes public celebration and used it to express their feelings towards anything they felt strongly about at the time.
We'll dress how we want, say what we want, and burn whoever we want at the fireside.
It's a very powerful show of commemoration and independence.
We love the bonfire works!
The nights are starting to draw in, and as November becomes December, midwinter is almost upon us, and with it the advent to Christmas. For a few weeks a year, the shop doors swing open and welcome in their Christmas shoppers, and the carol singers are out in force.
But not all carols are so pious. A handful of villages in Yorkshire sing a very different type of carol, one that has been at the centre of a battle with the church for generations. I'm heading off to the tiny village of Dungworth near Sheffield, where the ordinary workers of the area decided to write their own carols. But they didn't end up in the church. We start with a carol that I know. At least I thought I did.
They are local carols, so you may sort of recognise the words, such as While Shepherds Watch Their Flocks by Night, but you'll not recognise the tune. And every pub in the area will have their own variation as well.
I edge myself next to a local in the hope that I can pick something up. Everyone around me seems to know the songs quite intimately. What's their secret? So Dave, how long have you been coming to the Sheffield carols?
I first started coming here to this particular pub way back in 1973. And I learnt the songs orally, as you do in the tradition. I learnt the songs by ear, and it was I just thought it was the most remarkable thing that I've ever heard.
So you're singing these carols in the pub. How does that feel different to what it would be like to sing them in the church?
In church, it's regimental. When you come in here to sing, you sing as you want and enjoy it. Some will say, "Oh, I can't sing." What's it matter as long as you join in and enjoy it?
We're very pleased because we get quite a lot of young people in here. And that is good, because like yourself, you see, I've sort of been singing in your ear a little bit today.
Yeah, you've been great. You've been helping me learn all the songs. Do you know what I would have done without you, Janet? How do you think it started?
The carols themselves are a long-standing remnant of an explosion in music that took place between 1650 and 1750. Many of them written by ordinary people like blacksmiths and joiners and people like that. But then around 1850, they were thrown out of the church. And all those...
Why were they thrown out of the church?
Because it was a bit raucous, as you've probably noticed.
In every land, in every land, in every land.
I suppose the pub's the obvious place to go if you've just been kicked out the church. Looking around, I can see how this pub's been crucial in preserving these songs, despite centuries of social change.
Around this area, after the Industrial Revolution, they moved away. They'd gone into towns for money, work.
Yeah.
And then what were left were like us poor shepherds and poor farmers. Would us just enjoy these singing.
Over the ice and the drifts of snow, for he must call on one and all his master's pretty pets you see. For this is Santa Claus's man, Chris Kringle with his Christmas tree. Ho, 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 ho. Jingle, 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 right merry shall you be.
My Uncle John, my Aunt Bet, my mum, my dad, and all neighbours used to come and join in Christmas singing. My Uncle John played piano and he used to have a good bass voice and he'd sing all the time. So I was brought up to it. I just love to keep Christmas singing going. You can go without Christmas, but you can't go without Christmas singing.
Sing of a place that is dear to my heart, a place where I always would dwell. And if you will kindly lend me your ear, a few of its beauties I'll tell. In a beautiful dale, home of the swell, how well do I love thee, how well do I love thee.
There's a sense of joy in these songs which is really infectious. These are the Christmas songs of the people, celebrating the story of their lives and their village in a place they love.
As the shortest day of the year passes on the solstice, all expectation and excitement is focused on Christmas Day. But for some people, it marks the harshest time of the year. Each Boxing Day since we were born, we have come to Greetham near Hartlepool, where they've revived a village tradition that for centuries belonged to the poorest of the poor.
We are six dancers bold as you can see. We've come to dance this dance to please the company.
It's called longsword dancing, and it also turns out to be the oldest dance tradition we have.
Ryan, would you tell us a little bit about the tradition of longsword?
Longsword is a dance form that's mainly found in Yorkshire. Two main areas are this corner, the ironstone mining area, and the other area is Sheffield. In this country there is a long history of sword dancing.
For generations, dancers around Yorkshire have been heading out on the day after Christmas. Farm labourers, fishermen and steelworkers would visit the wealthy homes of the area and perform their version of the dance for a small reward, using whatever materials they had as swords. The Greetham longsword tradition also features a mummers play.
I'm a ruddy clown! And I've come to see thee dance! Dance, I've come to see a king dance! Lord have mercy!
cracker bottle.
So what are your characters called again?
My name's Hector.
And I'm True Blue.
True Blue.
True Blue.
Well,
First clown.
Give me time to say my prayers. So, ladies and gentlemen all, I bid you farewell. What's the tea?
do you know what your character's about?
I'm the old year.
Yeah.
And me having my head cut off and then being resurrected is the dying of the old year and the resurrection of the new year.
That worked.
So you black up your faces every year, don't you?
That's right.
What's that all about?
It's about disguise. And it was so that the people who were going to dance for didn't know who they were, which meant that they could collect money and nobody would say to them, hey, I'll give you some money for dancing the other day. They weren't supposed to know who it was dancing.
Right. And also, of course, begging was a criminal offence from the Elizabethan period onwards for quite a long time, so a lot of the traditions black up for that reason.
Going back to the old days, the people who did sword dancing were like farm labourers or lowly paid people. So this was a supplement to their income. If you could go out and dance and collect some money, that would help your family.
Especially in winter when the jobs were few and far between. Yeah. It was a point where, with the tradition, that poverty actually struck in the winter.
Turn round. Sword up. Hold behind me.
So obviously you've been doing this a number of years, and what makes you keep coming back and doing it again?
Because I believe it's important to keep these traditions alive. People hear a lot about Scottish traditions and Irish traditions, but the English traditions seem to get passed over. Nobody seems to worry about them so much.
Yeah, I mean, it means such a lot to us. We come every single year of our lives, and
a big part of our Christmas, really. Yeah. You're not allowed to stop doing it.
Yeah, you're not allowed to want to come.
The people who dance the Greetham longsword are no longer the impoverished workers trying to survive at a time when work was scarce. But there's a solemnness in the way they still dance today that makes me think the memory of these men is still very present for them. As the bleak midwinter passes, we all start to think about the year ahead. But the old year is not going out quietly. Thousands of revellers around the country gather on the 31st of December to drink, be merry and welcome in a new year. But we're going back to Northumberland, where they're getting ready for a different New Year's party altogether. In the former mining town of Allendale, a New Year's tradition takes place that has literally been handed down from father to son for generations. The origins of the tar barrel procession are disputed, but are thought to go back at least to the 19th century, when the country was going through its industrial revolution.
I'll be carrying the barrel tonight, and I've done it for about 26, 27 years now, and never missed one. But Kenneth will have done it a lot longer.
45?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dropped one.
Dropped one?
Yes. Show you how the barrels are prepared. Shavings. There.
So you're layering it up?
And then there's a sprinkle and the paraffin goes on. Just a wee measure, Kenneth. Just a wee measure. Sprinkled on. Right round. Up she goes.
Are they really heavy? Go on then, Bex, go on.
I'll give it a try.
Do you want a hat to put on your head here?
Yeah.
Oh. Go on, Becky.
Oh, wow.
After all the preparation that's gone into it, we like to see it go well, and I mean to say I do enjoy it.
Can you remember how
you felt when you first held the tar barrel on your head and processed?
Oh, tremendous sense of pride. Just like some of these new lads you see today.
Is this your first time?
This is my first time, yeah.
Are you excited?
I'm a bit apprehensive and nervous a little bit, like. I'm getting nearly 40, like, so I thought I'd better give it a go.
Getting there.
Yeah. That's nice for my first one, isn't it?
It turns out that these strange-looking barrel carriers are known locally as geysers.
So you use the term geyser. What does that mean?
Well, I suppose it means disguising, so that people can behave as they wish without too much regret.
There's often a few men dressed as women. They just need don't need any excuse for you men, do you?
No, I mean, they cross-dress as rife.
In Allendale.
Oh, yes.
As the crowds start to gather, we meet the oldest barrel carriers in Allendale.
How many years have you been doing this? A long time?
Oh, a long time, about 90.
About 90 years?
Over 90.
Wow.
I went to the first bonfire with my mother when I was 4 years old to see my father carry a barrel. I've taken part in it for all these years, 100 years nearly. The council, they used to come to tar the roads in the old days after they'd used about a dozen barrels, and we used to go and steal them after the workmen left. That's how they were tar barrels, you see. We went and stole them.
Are you looking forward to the evening?
We are.
Yeah.
You coming with us?
Oh yes, if you let us.
It goes back, they reckon, onto the days when the evil spirits used to come into houses, and they used to go in with a lighted torch or a lighted barrel into the house on New Year's Eve to chase the evil spirit out.
I can feel a few warm spots on my head every now and then. I have a few bald patches in the morning.
It's a real privilege to be following these geysers of all ages as they snake around the town on a route that's been trodden for so many years.
It really is quite a powerful and moving sight, and quite hard to keep up with.
We've never been so close to the fire before, and it's just happened so, it gets big so quick. And this year, for some reason, it's extra specially sparky. Tradition of first footing now, is that right?
Yes. We're out to see Philip. We'll go let his new year in.
Go and let his new year in, brilliant.
Ideally, you find a tall, dark, handsome man, and you get him to be the first into the house in the new year, and of course his reward was then a little glass of something. But obviously, if you turn up and you're prepared to sing a song, you're very welcome.
Tar barrel in dale, fire in snow, toast the new year, bid farewell to the old. Tar barrel in dale, fire in snow, toast the new year, bid farewell to the old. At midnight's approach, the band you can hear, the fiery procession of geysers draws near, with friends and good company, with voices so clear, singing in harmony, bringing in the new year.
In Allendale more than anywhere, I get the feeling of a whole town growing older and marking the passing of the years together.
New Year is a time of fun and also reflection, a new year in, an old year out, and the handing of the barrel from father to son reminds me of this. The old year may be gone, but winter is far from over. As New Year dawn breaks, we're travelling to the village of Haxey in a remote part of North Lincolnshire known as the Isle of Axholme. These farming villages were once surrounded by water, but now provide the perfect ground for an unusual tradition that has been blowing away the January blues for centuries. Each year, the men from two neighbouring villages meet to contest in a game that has, they say, been played on the same ploughed field for over 700 years.
It all centres around a curious leather oblong stick, known to all from Haxey as the hood.
The hood begins its tour of the 4 competing pubs, accompanied by a curious group of men known as boggins, led by the Lord of the Hood and the Fool. A local song in a packed pub accompanies the tradition of the blacking of the Fool and marks the start of Hood Day.
What's your face about?
The blacking was to represent the bruising in the first game, and it's always for that.
Did the Fool get
Hammered.
hammered?
Yes, that's the word. That's the word. In the first game, when the Lady de Mowbray rode across these fields, a hood went and was lost, and 13 farm workers fought for it, and one big buxom man, he got the hood and was going to present it back, and he was a bit scared. And he handed it off to another man. So he handed it back. The lady said, "You are the Lord, but you, my man, you are a fool." Aww. So I'm the fool.
The smoking of the Fool is one of the highlights of the Haxey Hood Day.
Gentlemen, we are gathered here today to play the ancient game of Haxey Hood. Now, this game is 700 years old, so let's respect the game and look after each other.
Right. There's pictures from the 1800s where my great-great-grandfather is stood in front of the Fool down there on Haxey thing. It's as close as that. It's brilliant, isn't it? And we all know from being very small, this is what the Hood's about.
As you can see, things are starting to whamble. So it's time for the game to begin. And it's time for you all to join in. And it's...
Who's against who's? Tune against who? If a man meets a man,
knock him down, but no one's got him.
It's house against house, which means house against house. Town against town, which is town against town. And if you meet a man, you knock him down, but you don't hurt him. But the thing is, you look after that man as you drop him down. It's the Haxey way.
We walk up to the plough field where everyone waits impatiently for the Lord of the Hood to start the game.
There's a sway on. Right, it's swayed. You look after everybody. If a man's down, pick him up.
It's out to get out! Town against town! If a man meets a man, knock him down, but don't hurt him!
Oh my God, my heart is racing.
What's the rules of the sway?
The main rule is that you can't run with it.
Right.
You've got to walk at all times. And that's the sway, like a big rugby scrum. If it falls down, we pick everybody up. But there'll always be about 4 or 5 people on the middle of it holding on to it. And the main aim of it is to get that sway to the local pub of your choice. There's 4 pubs, and we all try and get it to our favourite pub. Once the landlord has touched it, it's his for the year. And then we all have a few more drinks, and the rest is part of history.
Any idea where the Hood might be going to this year?
Not at the moment. It can alter. It's heading towards Haxey at the moment, but it's not close to that.
What's the shortest and what's the longest it's ever taken to arrive at a pub?
It varies between probably an hour and a half and 4 hours.
Have you just been in there?
Yeah, it's half. Yeah, it's not easy.
It looks pretty rough in there. Are you feeling
it is.
injured? Are you feeling injured?
Not yet, but I'm going to go back in there now.
Go for it.
Come on, Wesley.
Even though the sway moves at an incredible pace, it's 2 hours before it pushes towards the edge of the plough field.
It's just massive pride that the Isle of Axholme have got, and long may it live.
It's the end of Christmas at the end of the day. It's the end of Christmas.
Finishes Christmas and New Year off.
Do you know what I mean?
Better than New Year. Yeah, it is. Better day than New Year. Yeah. You get hammered, you get a few broken bones here and there.
Yeah,
good day out.
Good day out.
Finally, it makes its move towards Haxey.
We're moving. I suppose now it's which pub out of the 3?
About it, really, you know. Just men get together and showing their manhood, pushing. Oh, it's quite near. Stood outside the Duke William now. This is the first pub on this stretch, isn't it? So, are they going to go into the Duke? Brilliant! So we made it into the Duke William!
Come on, Jill! Fantastic, Jill! Yes, come on, Jill!
The Haxey Hood is surrounded by ritual and costume, but it feels like at the heart of it is the sheer force of the sway itself.
There's a real urge from the Haxey men to banish the restlessness that comes from Christmas and New Year passing, with this territorial battle and brace themselves finally for the last leg of winter. And as January starts to get underway, for many people it's a reluctant return to work. But for the agricultural workers of the East Anglian Fens, this was the beginning of the ploughing season and the first step towards a release from winter's frosty grip.
Plough Monday was the day when farm workers were meant to go back to work, and so this was the beginning of the ploughing season. The vast majority of people who lived in such communities were called ploughboys. They were plough workers, and it was a difficult time of year. There wasn't a lot of work around. It seems as if there was a variety of ways in which they managed to scrounge money from the local people. One of the ways was by doing molly dancing. Another of the ways was by taking the plough through the streets, and if people didn't give them reward in the form of food or drink, or preferably money, they would plough up their front gardens.
That's nice.
Very nice, yeah.
And what about the black faces?
Well, we think that's related to the fact that they used to plough up people's front gardens, so it was a form of disguise. When the ploughboys went out on Plough Monday in Ramsey, some of them would dress as a straw bear. It would normally be very special straw that had been kept from the harvest from the year before. They would take the straw bear into people's houses where he would caper about and crawl on the floor and beg from the people to get some more money.
Are you all right in there?
Fine, thank you.
Is it a bit hot?
It is a bit hot, but it's a bear's job never to complain.
Oh, bear's job never to complain. That's very noble of you.
God speed the plough and the ploughman, the farm and the farmer, machine and beast and man. God speed the plough.
God speed the plough.
Was blessing the plough to wish it kind of good luck for the next season. And
Yeah, to bring good luck to the ploughboys, because of course a lot of these people, if they didn't have good harvests, they starved.
The ploughboys' antics were copied by the children of Ramsey, who would call it plough witching.
We lived right out in the fens, you know, there were no lights or anything down there, so the children used to dress up in rags and black the face, and then we would go out. As soon as it got dark, you'd go to people's houses, knock on the door and sing your little song, and if they didn't open the door, then you'd probably put stones through the letterbox, or sometimes they had brick driveways, so you'd take the bricks up and put them on the garden, you know. It's anything to be naughty, really. That's really my first memories of it. We'd be practising this funny little song.
Got a hole in my stocking
and a hole in my shoe. Please will you give us a penny or two?
If you ain't got a penny, a halfpenny will do.
And if you ain't got a
halfpenny, God bless you. And it was ain't, not haven't.
No, that's penny talk.
were the winters quite hard on the Fenlands then?
Oh, they were very hard. We used to have to put my father's army coat on the bed to keep us warm. It was so cold in the winters.
Yeah. And we're about to discover for ourselves one of the ways that East Anglian farmers used to keep warm against this bitter cold.
Molly dancing is the East Anglian version of English traditional dance. It was done in the middle of winter. They could be out there in the freezing cold winds. And we think it's about getting down into the earth and turning the earth over. So it's a strong downward movement. When we teach the children, we tell them that the people who did it were strong.
Going around from house to house and almost intimidating some of the people that you worked for was a pretty audacious thing to do for these ploughboys whose lives really depended on work at this time of year.
There's something very strong in spirit about this tradition and the people from this area, that they won't be bowed down even when times are hard.
The land begins to emerge from winter, and we travel to the home counties for the end of our journey, ready to race into spring. Traditionally, Shrove Tuesday was the day when everyone used up their fatty foods left over from winter.
Rachel and I usually use it as an excuse to sample a few pancakes.
But for the people of Olney, pancakes mean so much more. This is a day they serve up one of the oldest traditions in the land. And there's not a sweaty man in sight.
Each year, Olney welcomes the first signs of spring with a traditional race that is handed down from mother to daughter.
The pancake race supposedly started in about 1445. The only people that can run in the race are girls that live in the town.
So what are the rules for entering the pancake race then?
They have to wear an apron and they have to have a headscarf on. They have to have the pancake and toss it at the start, and the girl that wins has to have, albeit perhaps a little bit of pancake, but she has to be able to toss it at the end.
So are you from Olney
Yes,
then?
I was born here.
And so how...
In 1932.
1932?
So I noticed that your pancake is quite a thick pancake. Well, yes, well, that's the secret of it. You see, if it's thick, you can toss it then. Woo! Because a lot of people say they put blue tack on it, but I don't.
Do you think you might win this year?
No, never. Unless they all drop dead.
And we're off in the chair.
This lady was busy making pancakes, and suddenly she heard the church bell toll, and she suddenly thought, I've got to be at church. So she ran down the street, and she'd still got her apron and her headscarf and her frying pan in her hand. And the verger was so pleased to see her at the church. He gave her a kiss, and she went to the service.
Shrove Tuesday may have been started by the church, but this is very much an event led by the women of the town to mark the change in season.
It's the women in charge here, and they're taking everyone forward out of the dark days of winter and finally into spring.
We've seen some very different traditions and original ways that people mark the journey through England's harsh winter into spring. The English are known for their stoicism, yet at the toughest time of the year, the most colourful events, dances and songs spring up around the country out of the darkness. It shows a real need for people to come together in the dark and cold to celebrate time passing and liven each other's spirits, to stand up for themselves against the odds, and to banish a kind of primal fear of evil and the unknown that seems to run much deeper and further back even than the traditions themselves. The origins of these customs may be lost in the mists of time, but somehow they find new meaning and potency as we witness them today.
So you ready? Yeah. On your marks. Get set. Fire. Go!
Stay with us, the musical moment continues with a trip back to 1977 for Top of the Pops next.